Hello everyone. We are Group 4, composed of Alejandro Sainz, Salman Fayed, and me, Prinon Turio. Today, we'll be talking about Facebook, the Cambridge Analytica scandal, and the uncertain future of online privacy.
We'll start first with a small introduction and background of the case. We'll continue with Cambridge Analytica, who they are, what they do, and what did they do. Then we'll move on about consumer data rights and privacy concerns. And we'll finish off with our conclusions of this case. We don't exactly have the strongest reputation of privacy right now, to put it lightly. It's what Mark Zuckerberg said as he was announcing a product roadmap for his company's new privacy-focused social platform at F8, which is Facebook's annual developer conferences back in 2019. Now, why did he say this? What was actually happening? Well, this is actually what we're going to talk about, what we're going to discuss in the coming slides. Let's first start with the background. In 2016, it was widely reported during the US presidential elections that more Facebook users got their news from social media rather than from anywhere else, or established media even. This is probably due to how accessible posting content has become with using Facebook. This accessibility, or to put it bluntly, lack of control and quality, allows anyone, even posters, to be exposed to unverified news and disinformation. So it happens fake news have become more widely read than real news. This prompted elected officials and regulators to accuse Facebook of spreading misinformation, and on top of that, of allowing foreign influences in US elections. Despite all these accusations, advertisers continue to favor Facebook over social media, precisely because of Facebook's reach. However, Facebook only got in trouble when Cambridge Analytica purchased data from Facebook and used it to inform political operatives. Now, Facebook was built under the premise of people wanting to share things with their friends and families. Users would post images, video, information, and news, etc. in over 100 different languages. Throughout all of this, Facebook collected information, which generated billions of data points from users around the world. Among the data that Facebook collected was what the users posted, such as pictures, posts, videos. Also, they collected metadata from the posted content, as in location or even phone numbers, information on the devices that people were using to connect Facebook, and even what people bought, what people clicked on, what people liked, as in whenever people clicked on the like button. And this data, which is quite extensive, is shared with the partners through its analytic services. Facebook also collected personal identifiers such as name, addresses, and if the user consented, advertisers were provided this information on ads, which led users to buy something or take an action around a product they viewed. Facebook was even able to track user activity even after the users logged out of the application. Now let's remember that Facebook's revenue model is based on ads, not on data. That is, their revenue model is based on the number of clicks, likes, and shares of the customer's ads. So the data collected was sold to data brokers, who in turn sold it to marketing firms in order to create ads to be used on Facebook.
So let's take a look at how the crackdown and the scandal took Cambridge Analytica took place as per the timeline. So in 2015, Carol Jane, a British investigative journalist who was also a feature writer for The Observer and the Daily Telegraph, first brought to light the issue with Harvey, who was a Guardian reporter. In 2015, Cambridge Analytica first released the app, which is This Is Your Digital Life, that was created by Alexander Nix Kogan. Um, it was a survey whose answers were to be used for academic purposes to understand voter psychology and detect undecided voters. The app was able to go through the data of the users as well as get the access to the personal data of the friends and the friends of the friends with great accuracy, allowing Cambridge Analytica to sort of very accurately split voters based on their decision matrix. In 2016, about a month later, when the scandal was came to light, Facebook first released a statement saying that it had taken some actions against Cambridge Analytica and had received guaranteed certifications that all the data stored had been deleted. In March 2018, The Guardian released an article stating 15 million profiles were hacked, which later went up to 87 million. In March 2018, the FTC first launches an investigation on Facebook, um, and Mark Zuckerberg finally comes out of silence to issue a statement. Zuckerberg talks about how he himself should be blamed for the failures and recognizes that Facebook has let its users down. In April 2018, Mark Zuckerberg finally shows up in front of Congress to testify. He assures the senators that they have put certain checks in place, and also explains that they did not notify the FTC of the data theft because they considered it a closed case when Cambridge Analytica notified them that all the consumer data had been deleted. Facebook also put limits on what and how much data app developers on their website can source. They also put limits on any app that has remained unused for more than 3 months, thus limiting developer influence on the website. In July 2019, FTC fines Facebook $5 billion for the data breach and their inability to disclose the matter to the FTC. Facebook also pays a $100 million fine to the Trade and Securities Commission. So if you take a look at the series of events that took place and how Facebook reacted to the scandal, we'll see that although Facebook made some changes to developer access, these changes were made after the initial reports were made public. The changes were actually announced a day before the FTC announced its investigation on the social media giant. Facebook decided to not notify the FTC of the data theft. They also failed to notify the users, the customers, of possible ways their data might be stolen to the use of third-party apps. Not notifying any of the other parties, it sort of shows Facebook's drive to act as judge, jury, and executioner. The question then becomes of morality. Would Facebook have made these changes if the data hack was not made public? In May 2018, Cambridge Analytica and their parent company filed for insolvency, and Alexander Nix, the co-founder of the company, was banned from leading the company for 7 years for allegedly offering illicit services to their clients. As we can see from the graph on the right hand side, Wall Street has pretty much recovered from the scandal within half a year. And with the change in branding, Facebook is trying to move on from this debacle. But we can see that the trust on social media during this period has taken a huge hit. And not just Facebook, but on all social medias. It will be interesting to see if this drop in trust has a longer term influence on the social media company, as well as the social media industry at large.
Consumer data privacy. In recent times, there have been multiple personal data breaches. Some of the major cases are Ashley Madison, where 32 million consumers were affected, and also Equifax breach that affected 147 million consumers. The impact of this kind of data breach is consumers suffer from identity theft and even major financial losses. That's because all their personal information is leaked, and then people can get credit cards with their names and identity or SIN numbers and things like that. Um, because of this, consumers are exposed to telemarketers, then predatory lenders who lend money at very high interest rates and often physically abuse the people who took the money, and also online harassment practices such as doxing. So doxing is a case where someone's data gets leaked online, and then people on the internet start harassing them in the real world by finding their home address and then harassing them or sending them messages or calling their phone number and things like that. Data breaches are a major challenge both for tech companies and also consumers. Even if some tech companies have very good privacy control protocols, they're complex for the mass population to understand. This is usually because they're hidden behind long, complex terms and conditions or privacy policy agreements. And most consumers and general population just click through these agreements, or they don't really have the time to read all of this. These terms and conditions or privacy policies are usually not user-friendly. It's most of the time complex legal terms, and it's not really easy for a normal consumer to navigate through. Adding more granular consent methods will make these even more complex and also increase the cost for tech companies. So what it means is if there are granular controls in the form of buttons and additional questions, and if this privacy policies or terms and conditions become interactive, it will cost the companies a lot of money to create that interaction and then also store the responses received from the consumers. To solve the challenges outlined earlier, government regulations such as GDPR in EU and PIPEDA in Canada were designed. PIPEDA stands for the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act. Uh, the purpose of PIPEDA is to govern how consent is obtained to collect data, to ensure accuracy of data, uh, to ensure the use of data for purpose consent was received for. So basically to ensure that like the data is not used for any other purpose other than what the end consumer gave consent for. This legislation is for limiting use, disclosure, and retention of data. It also governs right for individual access. So it ensures that if someone wants to see what information some tech company or government body has about them, whether collected through consent or some other method, the individual can access the data and do so very easily. And it also governs data safeguarding methods. So it ensures that the data is not subject of a breach. It's stored safely and appropriate cybersecurity measures are in play. Because of how profound the impact of data breach is on the society in general and also lives of people, corporations and giant tech companies must start looking into this problem from the lens of corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility is the idea that corporations act in ethical manner, in a manner that makes the society better. In most cases, it will also improve the brand value of the company because it's helping the society. More consumers will like the company. They may buy stocks and may like to support the company. It will usually boost employee morale. People working for the company will like it better because the company is doing something good for the society, and by working for the company, the employees are also doing something good for the society. And the last thing is tech companies must make data privacy a key pillar of their CSR efforts. So since tech companies deal with a large amount of personal data and they deal a lot with data privacy issues, their corporate social responsibility should be tailored around data privacy and around methods to prevent data breaches. They should increase investment into cybersecurity methods that prevent breaches, and through that they can play their role in corporate social responsibility. If we want to sum up this discussion, we see that Facebook acknowledged that they have indeed broken the trust of its users when data was mishandled in the Cambridge Analytica scandal. The founder of Facebook going into the congressional hearing and then acknowledging and accepting that is a testament to the fact that Facebook, at least on paper, is taking responsibility. Since the scandal, Facebook has taken measures to increase transparency around data collection and sharing methods, and it has also improved its operational procedures. It has added more granular controls and interactive consent forms where users explicitly provide consent and users can see where their data is being stored, or at least what app is using their data. Facebook still needs to collect data as that is the core of their targeted advertising-based business model. There is also a new challenge where misinformation is being spread rapidly on the Facebook platform. Now it's time for us to discuss the path forward for Facebook. Facebook needs to tackle all the challenges outlined earlier through the lens of corporate social responsibility. Facebook has a major impact on the society as a whole because it's a very big platform and there's huge amount of audience interaction going on. While audience sharing or reading misinformation drives platform engagement on Facebook and also leads to revenue eventually, Facebook should still stop the spread of misinformation for the greater good. That's because misinformation spreading rapidly within the platform will cause instability in the society and create various social and political conflicts. And in some cases, it may even bring down nations because if it leads to riots or voice of people being suppressed, then it will lead to major problems. Since data collection is at the core of its business, Facebook should improve transparency further by making the privacy agreements, terms and conditions, and consent forms simpler to understand for the general population. So this goes hand in hand with newer buttons and UI elements that allow users to give granular control, but it should not only be limited to buttons or UI aspect, but it should also include things where there are explanations for end users, and end users understand better what exactly they're giving consent to.